LeBaron Bonney is proud to present the following condensed video of how we install a top on a 1931 Ford Deluxe Roadster. This short video will cover the basic steps involved in the installation. After all the necessary top pieces are cut and stitched, the assembly begins with the installation of the windshield flap. Jeffery attaches the outside of the flap using the snap fasteners, which were pre-installed on the outside top tube of the window frame, and then proceeds to staple and trim the outside of the flap to the header bow. Once this has been completed, we are ready to move on to the top pad installation. The top pads are first tacked in place, so we are able to mark the bows correctly for notching. Notching is necessary to recess the inside edge of the top pad, which would otherwise show as a bump on the finished top. After the notching is completed, the pad is carefully stapled to the bows. With the installation of the top pads complete, Jeffery will move on to the back panel and rear quarters. This process begins by centering the rear panel and just tacking in place. This allows for correct placement of the rear quarters, which are the first to be fastened to the bow. After all three panels have been stapled to the rear bow, the excess material is carefully trimmed off, which finishes this stage of the project. Next up is the installation of the top straps. These straps will hold up the rear panel if more ventilation or greater visibility is desired. They are first temporarily tacked in place and the bows are marked for notching. As with the top pads, notching the bows will recess the straps and result in a smooth finish to the top. Once the notching is completed, the straps are stapled to the bows and trimmed of any excess material. We are now ready to install the top deck. After rolling out and correctly positioning, the top deck is fastened to the header bow and rear bow. Finally, the excess material is carefully trimmed off. With the top deck finished, the next step is to install the rear apron. After carefully centering the apron and bow, Jeffery proceeds with the fastening. Careful trimming of the excess material finishes this section. To complete our top assembly, we must now attach item trim over the exposed staples on the header and rear bow. We start with the rear bow first and apply a double-faced sticky tape over the exposed staple heads. This will temporarily hold the item straight and true while it is stapled in place. After the stapling is completed, metal tips are added to the finish ends of the item. We now move on to the header bow, trimming excess material, applying double-face tape, stapling on the item, and adding the tips as we did on the rear bow. The top is now complete and ready for use.